This video is going to be on how to calculate the volume of different prisms. Okay, so before we start, there is a formula here that is given to you in the formula section of your G.C.S.E paper, but it is also very good for you to actually know this anyway, and that is that the volume of a prism equals the area of the cross-section times the length. Now I've got two examples of prisms here. I've got a triangular prism on the left and a cuboid at the top. Now the cross-section of these two shapes is the shape at the end. So for a triangular prism, the shape on the end, the cross-section, is the triangle, whereas for the cuboid, the shape at the end of a cuboid is a rectangle. So we could have loads of different shapes, but the most common ones that you'll come across are triangular prisms and cuboids. Okay, so I'm going to run through two examples here. So first off, I want to calculate the volume of these two prisms. So I've got a cuboid and then I've got a triangular prism. So first we're going to start with the cuboid. Now, firstly, I want to calculate the area of the cross-section. Now, it can be useful to actually draw this cross-section out, and this is this shape on the end. So we know that this is a rectangle with 2.8 as its height and 1.3 as its width. So to find the area of this, all I need to do is 2.8 times 1.3, and I'm going to do this on the calculator, and I'll get an answer of 3.64. Okay, so now I need to do the volume, and the volume, if you remember, is the cross-section multiplied by the length. So the cross-section for this cuboid was 3.64 and the length is 6.2. So multiplying those two together on my calculator, I get an answer of 22.568. Now if you remember, this is volume and we're all in meters here, so my units are going to be meters cubed. Okay, so I'm going to do the same sort of thing for the triangular prism. So I'm going to start off by finding the area of the cross-section. Now in this case, my cross-section is this triangle on the end, and sometimes it can be useful to draw out this shape at the end to get all the dimensions right. So I've got a base of 12 and I've got a height of 8. Now, so to find the area of the triangle, if you remember, I've got to do a half times the base times the height. So in this case, I'm doing a half times 12, which is the base, times 8, which is the height. Now, half of 12 is 6, and 6 times 8 is 48. So again, my volume I need to work out is the cross-section times the length. And for my triangular prism, my cross-section was 48, and my length here is 72. So again, times those on my calculator, and I get the answer of 3,456. And again, my units, millimeters cubed. Okay, so here's two for you to have a go at. Okay, so pause the video, have a go at these, and then I'll run through the answers in a moment. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go at those. I'm just going to run through the answers with you now. So for the cuboid, first I need to do the area of the cross-section. So in this case, it's the rectangle on the end here, and I need to do 4.5 times 3.2. Doing that on my calculator, I get an answer of 14.4. Now to get the volume, I need to do the cross-section times by the length. Again, I find any formula, it's always worth writing it down because you do get method marks for these sorts of things. So in this case, the cross-section was 14.4 and my length is 7.2. So I just need to multiply those two together and I'll get my volume, which is 103.68 meters cubed. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the triangular prism. So again, I'm going to start off with the area of the cross-section. Okay, again, remember the formula for a triangle. I've got a half the base, which is 8, and times it by the height, which is 14. Doing that, I get an answer of 56. So to find the volume, again, I've got to do the cross-section times by the length. And in this case, the cross-section is 56, the length is 65. So if I multiply those two numbers together, I get an answer of 3,640 millimeters cubed. Okay, so my second example is going to be two more complicated prisms. Okay, so the first one is a trapezial prism, and the second one is this compound L shape that comes up quite regularly as well. So I'm just going to run through these two examples and then give you two to have a go at. So first off, this trapezium prism. Now the trapezium is this cross-section shape at the end here. It's again a formula that is given in the front of your G.C.S.E, but it is also quite good to know how to use this formula. So again, we're going to start by working out the cross section. Now with these more complicated shapes, I think it's definitely worth drawing a diagram to try and get our heads around what dimensions go with what. So I've got this trapezium here. I've got a base of 6, a length at the top here of 2, and I've got a height of 7. Notice that that 5 millimeters is actually my length, which I'll use for the volume in a little bit. So the formula for a trapezium, I need a half, okay, the sum of the parallel sides. In this case, the two parallel sides here are 2 and 6, so I need to sum those, 2 plus 6. And then I need to times by the distance between them, which is 7. So doing my brackets first, I've got 2 plus 6 is 8, half of that is 4, and then 4 times 7 is 28. So my area of my trapezium is 28. So now to do the volume, I need to do the cross section times the length. So my cross section in this case is 28, my length is 5, so I just need to do 28 times by 5, and I get a volume of 140 millimeters cubed. Okay, so moving on to this L-shaped prism. Again, I'm going to start this question off and do this question exactly as I've done all of the other ones. I'm going to start off with the area of the cross section. Again, just as the trapezial prism I did before, I'm going to draw the diagram out, which is especially important for these compound shapes. So there's my L, and I need to make sure that I've got all of these distances on. So first off, I want 3 at the top here. 7 is this first height down here. 1 is my second height, and I've got 8 down the bottom. Now, if you remember how to find the area of these L shapes, I need to split this shape up into two different. Now, if you remember to find the area of these L shapes, I need to split this shape up into two separate rectangles. Now, the best way to do this is to actually cut it horizontally there. So I'm just going to label my different rectangles 1 and 2. So first off, the area of 1 is going to be 3 times 7, the height times the width, which is 21. The area of rectangle 2 is going to be 8 times 1, which is 8. So the total area is going to be those two added up, which is 29. So now to finish my question off, I just need to find the volume, which is exactly the same as I've done before, the cross section times by the length. And in this case, the cross section was 29. My length is my only missing distance, which was 5. So I just need to do 29 times 5, which gives me an answer of 145 centimeters cubed. Okay, so here's two for you to have a go at. Pause the video, have a go at them, and then I'll run through the answers in a moment. Okay, so this first one, again, I want to find the area of the cross section, which is a trapezium. So if you remember the formula for a trapezium, I need to half the sum of the parallel sides, which is 5 plus 9. Okay, then I need to times the distance between them, the height, which is 8, and I get an answer of 56. Then in order to find the volume, I need to do the cross section times by the length. In this case, the cross section was 56 and the length was 7. So doing 56 times by 7, I get 392 meters cubed. Okay, so for the next question, which was the L shape, again, I'm going to start off by finding the area of the cross section. And in this case, it is pretty vital to draw a diagram out of the cross section, which is this L shape here. So drawing the L shape, I've got a distance of 5 at the top. I've got 8 as my first side, 2 down my second side, and 9 as my base. Cutting it in half horizontally again, I'm going to have first rectangle, second rectangle. Area of the first rectangle is 5 times 8, which is 40. Area of the second rectangle is 9 times 2, which is 18. To get the total area, I need to add those two up, which is 58. Then to find the volume, I need to do the cross section times by the length. And in this case, the cross section was 58. The length is the only distance I haven't used yet, which is 6. And 58 times by 6 is 348 centimeters cubed. Okay, so hopefully you were successful with that. Again, practice, practice, practice with exam questions. And just remember that these formula are given in the front of your GCSE paper. Okay, good luck.